Hi, I'm Tiffany, and welcome to this Mindful Monday. This week, I want to come to you about a topic that I have struggled with myself, especially recently, and that is the topic of dealing with difficult people. So, you get up in the morning and you're really happy and you're relaxed, and you do your morning routine, you have your healthy breakfast, and you head out to start your day. And then it happens. You encounter a difficult person, and all of a sudden, your calm has turned into complete calamity. We all encounter these people who prefer to stay miserable and make everything difficult. They exist, and sometimes that person is even us. So, a lot of times, these difficult people are difficult because they have an inability to deal with their mental and emotional state, which in turn makes that ooze out onto the rest of us. Oftentimes, they feel disconnected from life and they feel helpless. This helplessness that they experience can often manifest into continuously critiquing, judging, anger, and sometimes even pure rage. Their inability and unwillingness to take full responsibility for their relationship to life is what we see. Oftentimes, these people just want peace, joy, and harmony, but they're unwilling to do the work that's necessary to experience those things. And as we all know, demanding people are oftentimes the most difficult people. These people demand something from the external world in hopes of filling the disconnection and restlessness that they feel within. Whether they're demanding our attention, a certain action or reaction, or a particular outcome, the root of their behavior is a demand for something other than what is. Difficult people haven't yet learned to take responsibility for their whole selves, their mind, their body, and their spirit. They feel disconnected and restless, which gives them a need to argue, to judge, to criticize, and to tweak everyone around them. Their inability to handle themselves oftentimes fuels the fire, which comes out in harshness. But underneath their personality, they have a feeling of being separated. And oftentimes, this is a plea for help. But it is important to know that we can't change another, and we can't make someone want to change. The only way we can help is by being true to ourselves and finding our power within and being an example of wholeness. So, through my work in dealing with difficult people, here are some things that I found that seem to work. The first thing is probably one of the most important, and that is to be still and grounded ourselves. So, naturally, when a difficult person approaches us, it is natural for us to just instantly want to be rude right back, or we become irritated or irritable, and we sometimes even try to avoid these people. And that's because we think that if we avoid them, they'll go away, or at least we hope they will. But the truth is, although this may happen, it is much more likely that they won't leave until we learn an alternative way of dealing with them. We also know that negative energy is a force and it can seriously knock us down, usually in the form of us engaging in their toxic behavior. If we're not grounded, we can find ourselves arguing, judging, or stomping out of the room. This is us engaging again in their behavior. So, making sure that we're planted firmly in our body enables us to look the person in the eye and be completely present in what is happening now. It gives us the opportunity to remain calm and pause rather than engage in behavior that we might later regret. Number two is to look them directly in the eye. And that is if it's okay in your culture to do that. I know that some cultures, it is not acceptable to look people in the eye, and that's okay. This may not work for you. But if it does, Look someone directly in their eye, because this dispels darkness. Darkness and negativity can't stand the light, so it can't remain in the light. And your light pierces through the superficial persona to their being. So when you do this, one of two things will happen. The person will either walk away or stop talking, or the conversation will turn to a more positive aspect. It's important to know that we all want to be seen, from the school janitor to the cashier to our friends to our teachers. We all want to be seen. So taking the time to look at someone, this offers them the greatest gift that we have to offer, and that is connection. The third tool that I found that helps is to listen to understand. Oftentimes, whenever a difficult person confronts us, we automatically tense up and immediately consider our defense. But when we're calm and open-minded, we know that we never have to defend ourselves ever. So the most effective way to diffuse a difficult person is to truly listen to what they are trying to say, which means keeping our mouths closed and hearing them all the way through, no interruptions. Whether or not we agree with them doesn't matter. And we don't need to let them know what we think. We can listen and get back to them if necessary. And sometimes these responses are the ones that we have to use. These are some that I found that really work. So it can be as simple as, let me get back to you on that. That'll give you time to think about it and process it. Or, you could be right. Oftentimes, when a person is responding to what their perceived reality is, rather than what is actually going on in the moment, they are difficult because their frustration has very little to do with us. And sometimes I have found that someone's reaction seems over the top for the situation, and that repeating the same response diffuses the situation. Sometimes we just have to learn to be silent, and this is number 4 on my list of things that seem to work. Some people are just extremely close-minded and impossible to talk to, but we need to speak to them. When we're in a situation like this and someone just can't hear us in the moment, don't force the issue. Trying to get your point across to someone that can't hear you only escalates the situation. Sometimes the clearest form of communication is silence. And I'll repeat that again because it is so important. Sometimes the clearest form of communication is silence. At a later time, we can come back to the conversation with this person and communicate what needs to be said. And regardless of the person's response, you can share your feelings and thoughts and let go of the outcome. Focusing on them responding a certain way only results in 2 difficult people unable to accept what is. The 5th thing that I found is to be honest with yourself. So if you are repeatedly in a situation with someone who is abusive verbally, physically, and or emotionally, we need to stop trying to change him or her. If we find we are practicing a spiritual way of life and someone close to us isn't changing, it may be time to get honest with ourselves and find out what is really going on. The question of whether or not to end a relationship with a difficult person, whether a friendship, a coworker, a classmate, or a romantic relationship, can only come from within you. If you can honestly say you have done what you know to do, have asked for help from a friend or professionally, and nothing is changing, then it's time to go within for the answer and trust what you find. I want you to know that on the other side of a difficult person is the opportunity to grow. No matter what we are presented with in life, we have an opportunity to choose more or less responsibility. It is a choice. And remembering that true responsibility is our ability to respond in the moment. Just like everything else in mindfulness, this takes practice and it's not easy. However, as we take a more and more responsible aspect for our life, circumstances and people lose their power over us. We learn to choose our responses moment by moment, no longer being dragged around by emotions, thoughts, or circumstances created by another or ourself. So I hope that helps you in dealing with difficult people. I know that a lot of us have that, especially right now with people feeling frustrated and that sense of hopelessness that quite a few of us feel because of current situations. Just remember to be patient and to be kind and understanding, to listen not only to the other person, but to within yourself, and do what you know to be right. So, thank you for joining me again on this Mindful Monday, and I hope that you'll join me next week for another Mindful Monday. Have a great week. Namaste.